Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali, and having learned quite a few things from, through, and within human interactions, and having pursued and completed my master's in business administration and clinical psychology, I today wish to talk about the internal conflict that almost all of us face, or at least most of us face, as a result of an internal split, as a result of an internal fragmentation, as a result of an internal disintegration. So what do I mean when I say an internal conflict as a result of an internal fragmentation, as a result of an internal split, as a result of disintegration from within? Well, human beings are social animals. We are social primates. We survived well when we were a part of the team, when we were a part of the tribe, when we were a part of the community. And then we even thrive better, we live longer. In fact, we even live better. And metaphorically, if we are a part of the same team and we feel belonged within that team, we feel safe within our team members. We feel that our goals, our purpose, our values, and our beliefs kind of align with our team members. We begin to come alive. And there's a difference between just staying alive and coming to life or coming alive. So like I said, we are social primates, we are social creatures, we are social mammals, and thereby we naturally are socialized by our family's beliefs, by our religious beliefs, by our community's beliefs, by the beliefs of our institutions, be it educational institutions or work institutions. We are implicitly and explicitly socialized, conditioned to have certain values, to have certain beliefs, to behave in a certain way, to act in a certain way, to speak in a certain way, to think in a certain way, to feel in a certain way, which are called as the accepted norms, which makes us feel accepted within a certain social framework. Be it within our family, be it within our communities, be it within our religious groups, be it within our institutions, our schools or our organizations, in which we all try to fit in which we all try to mold ourselves into, so that we are accepted and not rejected, which has its place and which is helpful to a degree, wherein it doesn't start to create an internal split. It's helpful till the time we don't experience an internal conflict, an internal fragmentation, an internal disintegration. And it is here that we find ourselves split into two or many parts. One part that is trying very hard to remain true to its own essence, to the essence of the self. And the other part or parts that is trying to accommodate itself, mold itself, to fit into the accepted norms, to mold itself into the accepted social norms. And so quite naturally, because of this culturalization or socialization, our integrity, or rather our wholeness, gets fragmented, gets split, because of which we face and experience an internal conflict. And I think almost all of us, or at least most of us, have experienced this internal split and these internal conflicts. The clash between the internal voice and the external voices that to a degree have become a part of our own voice. And in order to explicitly talk about it, I can cite some examples again through some movies. So if I take the example of the movie BK, wherein they've shown this elderly couple who've gone out for a dinner or a dinner date, wanting to celebrate their 75th marriage anniversary, if I remember correctly, and we see this elderly gentleman fall short of some cash, of some money, and he excuses himself, rather makes an excuse, comes out looking for somebody to help him with some cash which he is fallen short by, to pay the bill for the food or to pay for the fine dining experience. He ends up lying about his situation. He creates a story wherein he says that his wife is in the hospital and that he needs a little help with regards to the payment of the bill, which is where the character of PK, played by Amir Khan, hands over the money to him to help him out. And even though it was a very small incident, yet we notice that this elderly gentleman had to lie in order to protect his own face, in order to protect his own created image that would have been more socially acceptable. And if he is today celebrating his 75th wedding anniversary, I'm assuming that there were at least 20-25 years before he got married. And so he had been socially indoctrinated, socially conditioned to create a version of himself and his storyline and his image which would be more acceptable, which would allow him to fit into that acceptable storyline, into that acceptable framework. And quite naturally, if he's celebrating so many years of his marriage, this indoctrination started right from his earliest years, started right from his childhood. And so we would notice that because of this social conditioning, because of this process of socialization, almost all of us, or at least most of us, from time to time experience an internal conflict, experience a sense of internal disintegration. And as Martha Beck, one times Oprah's life coach, would tell us that integrity is about wholeness, is about being intact as one whole thing that cannot be disintegrated, that cannot be fragmented. And it is through this process of disintegration, which is not to say that it's wrong or bad, but rather just a process of socialization, of social conditioning, that once in a while we need to step back, to look at our own lives, to look at our own choices, to be able to question if we've made those choices from a whole integrated self, wherein there is no internal conflict from within, or were those choices and decisions made from a disintegrated self. Once in a while we need to be able to step back to evaluate if our life choices, if most of our decisions are truly ours, or have they been conditioned into us. Once in a while we need to step back to be able to reflect if the beliefs that we think we carry, if the values that we think we hold, if the ideologies that we identify with are coming from an integrated self, or are they somebody else's voices that have now unconsciously become our own voices? Do we experience no internal conflict while making a decision or while choosing something? Or do we make them out of the fear of what everybody else outside of us would think about us? Do we make those decisions thinking what somebody else is going to think about us and what that would do for the image that we have created about ourselves? And if we are making those decisions and those choices from a disintegrated self, can we even truly trust ourselves? Can we even truly trust our own decisions and choices? And to kind of understand as to what integrated living can look and feel like if done tangibly, or what a wholesome experience can be all about. As Martha Beck would go on to tell us, that at any point in time we've got to make a choice. At any point in time we've got to make a decision. If our body, which includes our heart, our throat, our voices and our opinions thereby, our brain, our mind and our soul, without any resistance are saying one complete yes, or without any resistance is saying a whole complete no, would be the most appropriate decision done and made from a place of integrity, from a place of wholeness and wholesomeness. And at any point in time we experience an internal conflict or a resistance or any sort of a confusion, we need to pause and think and get curious as to why that resistance is there. Get curious about the fears, real or imagined, that is causing a resistance and thereby an internal conflict. Because in my understanding, at any point in time, which for most of us can be many times, we are functioning from a disintegrated self. We would not get a proper understanding of our own personal values, of our own personal beliefs, of our own personal ideas and principles. And we would be living somebody else's prescribed life, thinking that it's our own life that we are living. And more importantly, because of that internal conflict and distress thereby, we will be at unease within our own selves. So let's try and reflect to what degree we have been disintegrated from our own selves. We have lost our wholeness from our own selves. Let's try and reflect and get a little curious of what we resist the most and what causes that resistance and thereby an internal conflict. Let's try and reflect if we are truly aligned with our own values, or are they the values that we have imbibed from others without actually aligning with them in the first place. Let's try and reflect as to how much can we trust even our own selves if we are making choices and decisions from a disintegrated self. Let's try and do that, and I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contextual content of these videos, please do like, share and subscribe.